It's Mary on the run. 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 Mary on the run.
It's wonderful to see you, Nicole. For our audience, for those watching Mary on the Run, tell us, introduce yourself and tell us where you're at school.
I'm Nicole Calandrino, and I go to Villanova.
Okay, and what program are you in at Villanova?
So I'm in the business school. My major is marketing, and then I'm minoring in international business.
Wow. Okay. So, what brought you to that major? Like, what interests you about that?
Well, I've always wanted to do fashion since before my time at Trinity. I remember when I wanted to start a fashion club and there wasn't enough interest
That's
for
right.
it. So I suggested I make the costumes. So then I did that for 4 years, but I just kind of have always wanted to go into fashion. And I think at the beginning of my time at Trinity, I thought maybe I would do that at FIT, more of a creative route. But then I think as I got a little bit more into my academics, I realized I wanted to pursue a more structured major and go through more the business side of fashion than the creative side. So that's how I ended up, doing marketing.
Now, so you did costume designing when you were here.
Yes.
And you were really the beginning of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you done any of that in college?
I'm on the Business of Fashion Society Executive Board. So that's a club that started when I was a freshman. So I've been a member all 4 years. Last year, I was the PR director. So I planned events and stuff. And then this year, I'm the social media director. So
you're the social media director?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. So what is that? What do you do as the social media director?
So I just run the Instagram and help promote the events and also help set up some events. Basically, the club is just to connect Villanova and fashion, because obviously Villanova's business school is more accounting and finance driven, and that's a lot of the speakers that we have come and just a lot of the connections that Villanova has. So it just kind of started as a place to educate people and networking for fashion specifically. So
wow, so that's you've taken really a lot of initiative with that, and it's right in your field of passion and where you want to go. So have you thought about what you're going to do after college?
I have thought about it. I definitely still want to be in fashion. That hasn't changed at all. So I was supposed to have an internship this past summer, but with COVID, unfortunately, that didn't quite work out. But I'm actually in the process of applying to things now that I'm finished with finals. So hopefully by spring, that'll work out.
With each of the girls that I've spoken to, how the way that COVID has impacted your class is primarily through internships. And so it's interesting because you knew that you needed to do an internship, but instead of doing this internship, it sounds like your clubs that you're involved in, these activities, are really providing an experience that's rich and is preparing you. So make sure you put that on your resume.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, so. That's good. That's great. So did we prepare you well enough for Villanova?
I would definitely say so. More than enough.
More than enough? Okay.
Yes.
You want to make sure that we're really that we've done our job here and prepared you. And I mean, I can see from just looking at you that you're a confident, strong young woman. And of course, knowing a little bit more about you, because I've seen you over these 4 years. Nicole's mother is our school secretary. And the story goes that I really wanted her mom, Lisa Calandrino, to be the school secretary. I think I started talking about it maybe, in our second year, because Lisa, like Nicole, started, an organization here, the Parents Association. She was one of the 4 founding parents. But I had to get Nicole's permission in order for her mother to work at Trinity Hall. Right, Nicole?
Yeah, I don't know why you guys thought it would be a problem. I loved having my mom there. So,
well, this Trinity Hall was your school.
Yeah, and, but now it's hers too, and I love that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of nice, but having had my 2 girls, I worked where my 2 girls went to school as well in high school. So, it's time for it to be your place. And I know the first time I asked you, you were a little hesitant, but then when the juniors moved over to that refrigerator box on the other side, right, that small cubby, we were able to do that. So it's wonderful to have that connection. And what's great about that is you'll always have a connection with Trinity Hall because your mom's here for her life. And this will always be your home as well. So pretty exciting to me. Really exciting. And
I think
thank you so much for giving us your mother, because she's been wonderful. And it allows us to stay in touch with you too, which is even better for me because I always know what you're doing, you know, from a distance, but it's great. So Nicole, our class of seniors this year, our class of 2021 is 68 girls. And, you know, what message would you like to give them? So some nice message, a wise message, because you really have matured and grown and you've had some good life experiences.
I would say just like enjoy the people you're around. I definitely knew that Trinity was a special place while I was there. But I think that like going to college, the amount that I talked about Trinity Hall my freshman year, my roommates were just like, okay, get over it. Like high school is over. But like, of course I wanted to like move on and like grow and just like make changes in my life. But like, I do miss it. And especially like having my mom there to kind of like update me on what's going on. And like, I've stayed in touch with a lot of girls. I just I didn't realize how connected we all were because of course, like 4 years with the same 32 girls, like we had our differences sometimes, but I think that now we kind of all realize that we had a lot in common and we're very similar because we kind of were all in it together. So like through my 4 years at Villanova, it's funny, I would say one of my closest friends at Villanova is Marissa Goulshron, who's a year younger, who followed me to Villanova. And it's just funny because we were friends at Trinity. She did the costumes with me, but we just have like every year that we've been at Villanova gotten closer. And all the other girls that have come to Villanova too, like I've made a point of like having dinners with them and stuff. So I think that just like the more time I spend away from Trinity instead of getting more distant from it, like I realize like kind of the connections that we all had. So I guess just don't be in too much of a rush to move on from that because you'll miss it.
That's great, Nicole. And that's really good, you know, good advice for our girls to really be present and stay in the moment here. That's wonderful to know that you're kind of the big sister at Villanova too for some Trinity Hall girls. You know? I try. So that's kind of really special. So we've heard what you want to do afterwards, and we wish you, of course, the best of luck. And you know, you don't need luck because you have perseverance and you really are diligent in moving forward. So I know that you'll end up in the right place. And so that's wonderful to know. And I thank you so much for that advice. Any messages you want to share or something that you did that I really, because I love to know what you're doing. So any other messages you want to share or just stories?
Just another funny story of while I've been at school and the connection to Trinity is obviously Mr. Gamelik, who's one of our founders of Trinity Hall. He's also on the board at Villanova. So I'm persistent in that I always update him, like when the semester's over, my grades and everything. And it's been cool to like keep that connection because of course they're still connected to my mom and they see her. They're like, she's at Trinity, they're at Trinity. But I've also stayed in touch. And when Mr. Gamelik, he opened the new finance lab at Villanova, it was the night of a basketball game. So I ended up going to the basketball game with Mr. and Mrs. Gamelik. So that was a lot of fun. So just like, that's another aspect of like a relationship that I've been able to keep going. And I think that whether my mom was working at Trinity or not, I would have still, because I feel like it's so much of a part of my identity, especially being the founding class, that I just kind of like keep those connections. But it's been very comforting to know, like being at Villanova, like, yeah, my dad went there and like, I knew some family friends going in, but like whenever I've needed anything, or even if I just wanted to share like, hey, I made Dean's List again, like I've kept in contact with Mr. Gamelik, and that's been something that's really great.
Well, I can assure you that Justin Gamelik, one of our founders, and now the board chair, understanding at the Board of Trustees on Villanova, really appreciates you staying in touch. You know, you don't know how important that is to him. So I'm so glad that you recognize that and have made those connections. Those circles, you know, we always talk about the circle of support at Trinity Hall, but those circles continue through life. And you're a member of the founding class. I'm a member of the founding faculty. Mr. Gamelik's one of the founders. So we're all connected in very special ways. And I do hope that we can stay connected through the rest of, you know, these days. So Nicole, you know how much I appreciate talking to you today. I wish that, that we can connect in person soon. My plan was this Mary on the Run was actually supposed to be me running to each school. And I would have, taken you out for some breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and a drink. So someday we'll make that happen. But in the meantime,
so.
I really thank you for coming online today and meeting me. So.
Of course. Well, hope all is well. Happy holidays and such.
Yes, you too. Merry Christmas. God bless, Nicole.
Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. See you soon.
It's Mary on the Run. It's Mary.